Sometimes what appears to be negative in the beginning is really only a setup for a positive ending. Welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Dossier. Today we're going to take a look at a song I wrote called My Imaginary Foe. As I just mentioned, the song does start kind of dark, with lyrics like, "It's not some simple venom that you can suck to cleanse. It's like a laceration that stitches couldn't mend. So keep your prayer lines open. I have some change to spend. And I have 2 confessions for each and every sin." From there, the refrain goes on to talk about guilt and depression, and on the surface, only seems to kind of pile on to the verse. But let's take a closer look at exactly what the verse is saying. The laceration that I'm talking about, that isn't so easy to get rid of or to heal, is growing up in an abusive environment. The 2 confessions that I'm talking about is going from one abusive household to another. Being 10 years old at the time, I figured that I was the only common denominator between both households, so everything that was going on somehow had to be my fault. It had to have been something I said or did, or maybe something that was just innately in me. It took a few years of really really digging deep inside myself, trying to figure out exactly what it was that I was doing wrong, or what it was about me that inspired me being treated that way. And after a lot of focus, I finally started to see patterns, not just looking at me, but looking at my environment and the situations, and I started to see that there are actually patterns when I look real close of my parents' behavior, not just towards me, but towards other people, in other areas of their lives. And that was a powerful revelation for me. That's what inspired the second verse of the song, which goes, "Burn me in effigy on your crowded avenues, and if I raise the question, pretend it wasn't you. But keep your motor running in case you have to flee, because you never know when my mind might rescue me." That verse was an admission that I was losing, but it was also a warning that I wasn't done fighting. That somehow, some way, I still figured that I would figure out a way to turn everything around. The reason I felt like it would be my mind that rescued me is because in all my evaluating and trying to figure out everything that was going on and trying to assess the situation, figure out how I can make it better, it dawned on me that my heart just wasn't gonna do it. It was gonna take logic to figure out a way to get out of that situation in a way that didn't include me winding up in jail or dead. You see, to really be free, I had to find ways not just to find self-esteem, but I had to find ways to understand, to get a perspective on the entire situation, on why things happened the way they did, and to understand that whereas I found a way to break the cycle, my parents hadn't. They hadn't figured out how to get past the things that they endured as children. And that realization really went a long ways towards not just figuring out my place and figuring out a way to establish our relationships where it was understood that I wouldn't tolerate abuse, but at the same time I wouldn't be an abuser. So that concludes this quick look at my song, My Imaginary Foe, You can hear the song by clicking on the link in the show notes below, and it'll be available for sale on my upcoming CD called Paved in Flesh and Black, which will include songs like My Imaginary Foe, as well as some other songs that I've never released yet. To find out more information on it, get on my mailing list. I do not share your information with anybody else. I only send out a single email once a month, the very first Thursday of every month. In it, it includes a real quick read, a quick story, a quick focus on a single piece of my visual art and news about whatever it is that I have going on at the time. Because I'm a fine artist, music artist, poet, and fiction writer, every week in Wednesday Dossier I cover a different artistic form, going a little bit deeper into a single piece. You can find out more information on the schedule, again, in the show notes below. As always, thank you for watching. Hope to see you next week.